age is only a series of numbers, isn't it? If you're feeling well enough to do things and are able to do things physically, I would feel very bad if I didn't do everything that my health allows me to do. And I always feel that if I wasn't as lucky to be as healthy as I am at this age, I would be very upset to see people who were healthy not making use of their health.
Well said. Now, to get to the practicalities of what you've just undertaken, how long did it take to complete your round trip of 42 cathedrals?
About 45 days. I didn't manage a cathedral every day, but normally I got one, well, as I say, 42 cathedrals plus a minster in 45 days. In the series, I didn't do it non-stop. I did it over a few months, taking about 5 or 6 cathedrals at a time.
What was your inspiration? It's not perhaps a route or an idea that would come readily to everyone's mind. Why did you decide to make the cathedrals the stepping stones of your journey?
Well, like a lot of things that happens in your life, it happens by chance. And last year, I was trying to retire, and so I wanted to get out of the way, away from the business. So I set off to do cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats. And I completed that in August, I think. And then I decided I would do a west to east from Workington to Tynemouth. And I no sooner completed that than, quite by chance, a friend mentioned about people who were doing this cycling around Britain, visiting cathedrals. And I thought, oh, sounds a good idea. So without any further thought, I set off. And it was some time after I'd set off, a month or 6 weeks after, and I'd only done about 12 at that time. I was at a function to raise money for this Bridges charity. And someone was asking me what I was doing, and when I said what my latest foolish project was, they said, well, why don't you try and raise some money for the Bridges to get some sponsorship for it? And I was so impressed by the people who had come through the process at the Bridges and what the Bridges is doing for these people that I readily agreed. And so that meant I had to complete the 42.
Yeah, you were committed at that point. Tell me about the Bridges.
Committed.
Tell me about the Bridges. What is the work, and what was it specifically that so impressed you that you were persuaded to make their needs the focus of your run?
Well, it's a locally run organisation, and as I'm not an expert on the Bridges itself, but as I understand it, it's an offshoot of the Forward Trust, and it does get some government funding, but it relies heavily on voluntary donations and contributions. And in Hull, they have a fantastic establishment and very, very good trainers, and they have a very good record of success of the people the ex-offenders and addicts who join this scheme. They have a very successful success rate. And hearing the people who have been through the process, hearing them speak and explain what it has meant to their lives, it's very, very humbling. And it made me very well aware how lucky I am, and many of us are, and that I wanted to do something to help continue the work that they do.
I suppose as so helpfully comes along sometimes in a life, it's you'd be committing yourself to something arduous in the form of that cycle trip, but when you consider the challenges that, for example, the people that you encountered at the Bridges, when you see what their lives are like, it fairly sets into a useful context whatever struggles we think we're going through in our own lives.
It certainly does, and it makes us realise how lucky we are. We can always find something to complain about, but you don't have to look very far to see that people aren't as fortunate as we are.
And on the run, 42 Anglican cathedrals. Did you have favourites among them? Did you have particular encounters along the way that were memorable?
This is the inevitable question everybody asks me, and the answer I give is the most impressive is the one I've just been in, because you think this must be the best until you go to the next one, and likewise all the way through. So I haven't. I think it would be unfair to say I've got a favourite. There are certainly amazing things in every cathedral. Each has its own special feature.
I've got a particular affection for cathedrals, Anglican or otherwise, and for example, Durham Cathedral is a favourite of mine. And I think what impresses me is that we are creatures of the 21st century, and we're accustomed to great buildings, hundreds of stories high, the Shard and whatever, and yet you walk into these buildings that were built 1,000 years ago, and they still have the power to do what they were designed to do all the way back then, which is to put you in your place and make you feel small. And the cathedral architecture still has the power to deliver on that score.
I think you've summed that up very, very well. It is awe-inspiring to see the older cathedrals, the likes of Durham, built when it was, without the facilities we now take for granted. And it's a magnificent building, but B, as you say, it also inspires, which is exactly what its function was when it was built.
And do you have
quite a few more of them? Sorry.
I get no sense that you're going to stop pedalling anytime soon. Do you have any further trips planned? And if so, what?
No, I haven't any plans at the moment. I'm going to do a bit of driving instead. I'm going to volunteer as a NHS Yorkshire Ambulance Service volunteer patient transfer service.
You just never stop, Derek, do you? I'll tell you though, this is a segment that we call the Great Britain. It's always intended to make people aware of those among us who might not have the spotlight turned upon them, who are making a positive contribution. And I think what you've just described tonight, that the time that you've put in, giving of yourself, giving of your effort, and raising those thousands of pounds for such a worthy cause, you definitely qualify for a place amongst our Great Britain. So Derek Megginson, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure to spend some time with you.